look, here's the thing.
Did you end up watching the ending yet?
No.
Oh my gosh, dude.
So
I can't believe this. I don't know what I was more upset about, the fact that you were trying. I thought you were trying so hard to mess with me, or the fact that you actually weren't messing with me, and that you turned off the movie before the biggest climax, and were like, "Oh, that's obviously this is over now," right before the biggest thing happened.
I just loved how when you were like, "What'd you think of that fight?" And I was like, "What fight?" And you were like, "The fight, the ending fight." Like I'm, like, duh. And I'm like, it didn't end with a fight. And you just looked at me. I have never seen you look at me so seriously in my life. You were like, yes, it does. And I was like, no, it didn't. You were like, how does it end? I was like, it ends with him getting a girl out of a storm. And then he's like, oh, the storm's over. Yeah, we can host the event in the old temple thing. By the way, hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 10.
You want to officially start now?
Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, this is what we're doing.
Okay,
we're jumping in. Welcome to episode 10, right?
Yeah,
double
episode
digits.
10.
Yes,
that's right. Boom.
Of Screen Woven. I'm Christopher Davis.
Oh, we're doing last names now.
I'm Chris. I'm just Chris. Just call me C.
We're basically public figures at this point.
Oh, you know it, man.
Yeah.
Remember when we got recognized last night at the theater?
Yeah, by our wives.
Well, yeah. They were like, "Hey guys," we're like, "We're over here. That's us." Yeah. But I'm Chris. This is Daniel. We're current. This is not going to be the majority of the podcast, but it is a funny anecdote that we wanted to start with because I'm an idiot, and
you're an idiot.
Despite the fact that you all know that, and I know that, and he knows that. For any new listeners, we're going to introduce you to how stupid I am. If you recall, in the last episode, we were discussing my quick attempts to, like, in leaps and bounds, catch up on Cobra Kai, because my friend here has given, like, just a raving review of the show, talked about how it's, like, one of the most perfect shows. It ends so perfectly. He loves it, yada, yada. And the new Karate Kid coming out. And he was telling me, you probably want to watch Cobra Kai first.
No. Before the new Karate Kid. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
Right. So I've been on this mission. So between us talking about it and then me coming back, I had watched 2 seasons, which was probably a bit of a surprise to him because I think I had only told him I'd finished 1. But by the time we recorded again, I finished another. In that discussion, he told me, have you seen, we started talking about the other Karate Kids, and I kind of realized through conversation, I've either never seen them or have completely forgotten them because I didn't know anything he was talking about. And he was like, watch those first. Don't watch any more Cobra Kai until you watch those movies. Okay. Which brings us to the story. I rented Karate Kid 2 on Amazon Prime. And either got completely gypped and paid full price for a half movie, or I was watching it, stopped it for whatever reason, and then, my rental ran out and I never got to go back and finish it and just never saw the end. Because
oh my gosh. Last
night, while we were waiting for our movie to start, the movie we will be discussing today, Marvel's new release, Thunderbolts, asterisk. Which we'll get to.
Watch your language.
Yeah,
guys.
Sorry, guys. We'll beep that out. He was asking me, did you watch any of the other Karate Kid movies? I said, yeah. Well, I watched the second one. He's like, what'd you think of that fight? I was like, what fight? I mean, like, there were a couple fights, but I mean, it wasn't like, to me,
the ending climax, the biggest fight in the whole movie. What are you talking about?
Like, I was like, none of the fights I remember seeing were like worth him being like, what about that fight? Like, they were pretty quick, like nothing. And he just looks at me, he goes, the ending fight. Like, yeah. Like, duh, like, come on, man. And I was like, it didn't end in a fight. And I was telling him, I've never seen him look at me more serious in my life. And he goes, yes, it did.
Well, part of the reason I looked that way is because I was in my head thinking, he's messing with me right now. Like, I'm trying to process. It's like, there's no way he's being serious with me. He's messing with me. I'm not going to look like a fool in front of this guy.
Well, and I thought you were looking at it like that at first because you were maybe like, oh, maybe I got my movies mixed up.
Well, there was a little bit of that. It's like, am I saying it wrong? Like,
and I was like, no, it didn't. It did not end in a fight. He was like, Chris, yes, it does. It ends in a fight. I don't know what you're talking about. You didn't see the ending. I was like, I saw the ending. He goes, how did it end? I said, they saved a little girl out of a storm off of like a pole, and then the storm ends, and the big bad guy through most of the movie like comes and gives them gifts, and he's like, oh, you can host the little party thingy in the place, the like sacred place that it should be hosted in. And then they're going to go back to America. And Daniel goes, that's not the end. I was like, yes, it is. I was like, do they play the credits and then more of the movie? Because that's got to be the end. He goes, no, it's not the end. So, yeah.
Dude, did they seriously take that? Did you see the credits?
I thought I did, but now you have me seriously questioning whether or not I saw all of the movie.
If they showed the credits, then Amazon gypped you.
I don't know. Again, I don't know. I feel like I remember getting to credits and being like, well, that was a weird ending.
Yeah, no, there's no way that I'll show it to you on YouTube when the podcast is over. I'll show you the actual ending. You were really close to the end, but there's a massive, I mean, I shouldn't say not in scale, but like a fight that takes place. Yeah. That's like very serious, the highest stakes in the whole film series. So like, I remember even telling you last podcast, I was like, the second one has the most intense fight.
Yeah, and I thought you were talking about when they come to like storm the area they're living in. No. I was like, that was okay.
Dude, I don't know how this happened.
I might have not finished it.
I hope that's, well, maybe you got sleepy and you were just like, oh, okay, it's ending now. Like they're at the celebration and you're just like, okay, it's over.
I might have, or I might have gotten pulled away and then forgot to go back to it and my rental was up and I just was like, well, I saw the end.
The good thing is you were close enough to where we can find the full fight on YouTube and you'll understand. So
pretty much that's the only thing that happens after. Okay.
Yeah, there's a huge fight and then that is the conclusion.
Okay. Well, yeah, so that was a funny little misunderstanding.
And that fight is important for the Cobra Kai show too.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, so that, it that happened.
Yeah.
But it was funny and I just thought we'd kind of open with that even though it's completely unrelated.
I'm just sitting here trying to think of how this happened to you. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I wish I could remember.
I just have this image in my head of them celebrating at the thing, and you're like, all right, I'm tired.
Click.
This is obviously over. Just click it off. And I'm like, oh, man.
I don't know. Like I said, I remember, the only thing I remember is that happening, and then me being like, that was a weird ending. That's not how I expected this to end. Yeah, but I don't know if that's like just me retroactively doing that.
Do you remember after the storm that Chosen runs away? He's like, angry?
Because the guy says, you're dead to me.
Yeah.
Or I'm dead to you or something because he didn't go out there with Daniel and him and Miyagi to help.
Yeah.
So I remember all that.
Yeah, okay.
Other than that, I just remember him meeting up with them, and it's like Sonny. He brings in his company. They're going to rebuild the village, and then he gives Daniel and Miyagi like a couple gifts or whatever, and then Daniel's like, hey, can they, have the party at the place it's supposed to be at since it's, that's how he talks.
I'm talking 110%
I'm talking
kaboom.
110% kaboom over there. Over there in the sacred kaboom temple.
That's an inside joke.
Yeah.
Pre-podcast.
Yeah. Sorry, y'all had to hear that. But yeah, and I was like, oh, that's sweet that he did. By the way, I know we're not talking about this movie today, but
we're talking about this movie.
A little bit. I hate the fact that Allie was so important.
Yes.
In the first movie.
Yes.
And then in this one, she's just like gone. And the only mention you get is that like, yeah, she's dating some other guy now. She's not even talking to me. Yeah. And then he just goes to this other country. He's like, oh, other pretty girl. Okay. You're the love interest now. I'm like, oh my Lord.
Yeah. I despised the way they did that.
It made no sense.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know if like I hated it so much because it's 20, 30, 40 years from when they were released. And like, I can watch one and then watch the other, and so it feels so disjointed?
No, I don't think that's why.
Or like even back then when it came out, maybe everyone was like, man, I know it's been a couple years since we've seen Karate Kid, but like, this feels weird.
Well, also in the film, it wasn't even that long ago from the first movie.
Like they're in the summer vacation.
Yeah.
Like,
so basically, that whole alley plot in the first movie is completely null and void.
Yeah.
There's no point to it. Like, yeah, it just didn't work out.
Does she come back in the third?
No.
Oh my God.
That's why I am so glad that they, in the season 2 ending, when he texts Allie, I'm so glad they made her a central part of their conflict again, because they just kind of wrote her out in the movies.
Yeah.
And you're probably the whole love interest thing is the worst part about that whole film series, and you're probably gonna hate it even more in the third movie.
Oh my God, they do it again
in a worse way. Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
But don't let that ruin the main plot point for you.
You know, I'm still gonna watch it, but yeah, I hate the alley thing. I liked it. It made sense, and it's very 80s, and I loved it. And actually, it was a pretty well written little triangle, which is why Cobra Kai can be so successful. It's you watch Cobra Kai and you're like, there's no way 2 grown men would behave this way. But when you think about it, and it's like scorned, scarred egos from high school level, you know, you took my girl and like I was in love with her, I'm still in love, you know, like you kind of like, okay, maybe a couple guys would act like that.
You got a little New York that you kind of might, you know.
I'm used to hearing now young Daniel. It's so funny how different he is in Cobra Kai compared to how different he is in. But you know what though? He mentioned something in Cobra Kai. It was in season 1. He goes to Miyagi's grave to talk to him, and he says something about, I really, you know, I could use you right now, and I'm looking for advice. He's like, you know, I always was a hothead, and I was like, hothead? Like, I don't remember you being like, you know, I remember you being more like a victim, like a bully victim, but like watching Cobra Kai and then going back to watch Karate Kid, Daniel is kind of a jerk.
Yeah,
he is kind of like an attitude punk, like from the city. He's got that Jersey thing in it. Like, I mean, he's kind of tough. Like, I mean, he's not as much of a victim as I remember him being as like a kid, being like, oh, this poor kid's getting like jumped by these. Yes, he did, but like, he's also kind of a jerk. Like, honestly, and he's a jerk to Allie. He's a really big jerk to her a couple times.
Yeah.
So I was like, dang, this is kind of crazy to watch this in retrospect. So it's been very fun.
That's what I totally love how they did that in Cobra Kai, because they didn't change anything about the story. They just changed your perspective on it. And then you go back and look at it and you're like, how did I miss this the first time? Like, they're absolutely spot on. He is kind of like, you know, he had flaws. Yeah. He didn't do everything right.
Right.
Same with Miyagi.
But
Miyagi had flaws. He was a little too passive.
Karate Kid, which I totally get after seeing the second movie.
Yeah.
Totally. I'm like, who are you?
Yeah.
Didn't you beat up high school kids like 6 months ago?
Yeah.
Like, who are you? These are like gang members destroying homes and people's lives, and you're like, no worry, Daniel-san.
Yeah.
We worry later about that.
Yeah.
Play with toy drum right now. Like, all right, man. Like, what are we doing? Like, but the comparison I always make in my mind with like Cobra Kai and stuff. I don't know if you. I'm sure it's really not up your alley, but
alley.
I used to watch Walking Dead when it was like good.
I watched the first 3 seasons.
Okay, so you didn't quite make it to where I'm talking about, but you'll probably understand. So, like, the big bad that comes in later in the show is Negan. I'm sure you've at least heard of him.
Yeah.
And it was a really interesting thing brought up by a lot of people when he was like a mainstay in the show, which was that if you watched The Walking Dead from the beginning, from the first episode, but from Negan's perspective, he'd be the hero. But because you've been watching it from Rick's perspective, he's the villain. And I was like, oh my God, like, that's a good point. And he's arguably better at being a leader than Rick, because like they had their whole little like thing, their little town set up in that warehouse building or whatever. Like, they were a pretty widespread group by the time Rick's group runs into them. He's a good leader. maybe a little oppressive. I mean, he's definitely a jerk. Everyone in that show had their flaws, but yeah, like if you watched it from the other perspective and like knew like Negan's backstory, like what made him be the way he is, like all these things, like yeah, he's kind of the hero. It's weird.
Do you know what's crazy about this discussion we're having right now?
What?
This highlights something I loved about the Thunderbolts. You probably don't understand why yet, but I can't wait to explain that aspect of it.
Let's use that as the segue. I mean, that's kind of all I wanted to. We're gonna talk more Cobra Kai and Karate Kid. I'm sure maybe in the next. Hopefully, I'll have actually finished the second movie and the third, and gotten back into Cobra.
You'll have
Kai.
Finished the second movie before you leave this house today, because I'm gonna show you the fight scene. You're gonna see that and be like, "How did they leave that out? Well, how did I miss
There's
that?
no way they left it out. There's no way. There's no way.
It's possible there was just a glitch or something.
I think I just didn't finish it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, we did start off this podcast with you talking about how much of an idiot you are.
Yeah.
That was really mean. I'm really sorry. Coming out, that didn't feel good. I was like, I like joking with you and stuff, but
like
geez.
Taco Bell.
That doesn't really feel good going into me either.
Psych.
Yeah.
I love Taco Bell.
Well, it feels good in the mouth, but not when once it passes your esophagus, your body's like, what are you doing to me?
Why is my body Gandalf the Grey?
Fly, you wolves. You think that's what Gandalf sounded?
Well, after all the times I've watched Lord of the Rings, that's kind of what he sounds like. What are you doing to me?
Keep it secret. Keep it safe. That's our Gandalf voice now.
Tell me I'm wrong. He sounds like an old man.
That voice I just did. That's what it sounds like. That sounds.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I could hear that. Yeah. All right. So Thunderbolts. My favorite part was when Gandalf showed up in Thunderbolts.
Dude, at least I got the reference because I've seen Lord of the Rings. Yeah. Okay. Let's just get this out of the way up front. Okay.
All right.
For those who have not seen the movie, we loved it.
Should we do before you finish that? Should we do a little spoiler-free section and then talk spoilers?
That's what I was gonna say. Like for me, I'm gonna speak for me.
Okay.
And then I'll pass it to you, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
Here's my spoiler-free. I loved it. I cannot discuss any of my in-depth love about this movie without ruining something.
That's fair.
Go into it blind, like I was finally able to do with a Marvel movie. Just go into it, enjoy it, watch it, have fun with it. Probably to me, it's a top 2 or 3 movie since Infinity War.
Okay, since Infinity War. Ah, man. This one might be a top 5 in the whole MCU for me.
I'd have to go back and think, but you might be right.
I'll say the same thing. I'll add a little bit more for my spoiler free.
Okay.
This movie was so good. It was everything that you love about the MCU with a refreshing new take to it. It didn't feel like I was just watching a rehashing of Iron Man 1,
Yeah.
It felt like a really new, fresh perspective. The characters, I loved every single character. The character development was flawless in this movie.
Yeah.
All of them were great. And even the bad guys, I loved them as bad guys. Super well written bad guys.
Yeah.
Without, and I'm going to talk more about that when I was saying earlier about the thing I liked about Thunderbolts.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk more about why in the spoiler section. But the last thing I'll say is this was also surprisingly hilarious.
Yeah.
It was as funny as Guardians.
I would agree.
I was shocked at how funny it was.
Yeah.
It was just as funny as Guardians and just as emotional as Guardians 3, if not more.
I would agree with that. I almost cried at least twice.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're a baby.
Well, that's true.
I'm being so mean to you today. I hope everyone knows that I really love you.
I mean, I hope we're 10 episodes in.
That's true, yeah. I can at least stomach you. That's at least they know that.
Oh my god.
That came out so bad. I didn't even mean for that. I was like, oh man.
That was pretty good. Sorry about I'm still coughing, guys. The pollen it's stupid out here.
Yeah.
Anywho, yeah.
That's my spoiler-free review.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to leave it. I agree with everything he said, and I'm going to leave mine as vague as possible as well. I loved it. If we're rating it, I'm not going to call it a 5-star movie, but I will say it's probably a solid 4 for me. That's a solid 4-star movie.
Why would you not call it 5?
Because there's a gripe you have that we'll probably talk about.
Oh, that's fair, yeah.
Even though I feel like I could explain it away, things like that, I'm just like,
yeah,
I can't. To me, 5 stars is like perfection.
That's fair.
And you came up with that, like to me, if you have to dig for a gripe, I could give that a 5-star. That was just something like right off the rip when the credits were rolling. You're like, this kind of sat with me the whole movie because it happened at the beginning, which we'll get to, but it happened at the beginning, and even at the end, you're like, I didn't like this.
Yeah.
Now, your 2 other gripes were actually immediately addressed in the post-credit scene, which was awesome.
Yeah, the post-credit scenes made everything else that I was a little. And let me just say, the gripes I had were minor when the credits started. Right. They didn't ruin the movie, but I was like, I wish they wouldn't have done that. 2 of those gripes were completely satisfied in the post-credit scenes. Yeah. I was like, okay, fantastic movie.
I mean, if we're doing like halves, I'd even go like 4.5. Like it's as close to a 5-star as I would have given an MCU movie. Like,
that's fair.
To me, if it was a 5, I'd have to put it like above probably like Winter Soldier, No Way Home, any or all of the Guardians, and I just Guardians isn't my favorite. Like, I probably actually do like this a little bit more than Guardians. But that also might be because I've sat with Guardians 1 now since like what, 2013, 14? It's like a decade or more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very overplayed movie because it's so good.
It's such a good movie.
So I don't know. Like I said, it'd be cool to do. That'd be a cool episode. We each rank the MCU films and come to and just kind of discuss where each movie is on that list with each other.
Yeah.
That would be a cool episode because I guarantee you ours are different.
Yeah, probably. Mine are right.
Well, nothing wrong with being wrong.
That's true.
At least if it creates content.
Why am I being so mean to you today? What is going on with
you? You had coffee. You're wearing a vest and you had coffee.
That's true.
So you're like in your CEO mindset. And I showed up to work in jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah. With
my untied Nikes, and you're like, this bum. What are you doing? Go finish Karate Kid 2.
That's what it is. I'm still angry about that.
Yeah, you're still mad about that. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, it's a great movie. 4.5 out of 5 for me. Go watch it. And please come back and hear the full spoiler discussion because we're going to glaze it so bad here in a second.
Oh my gosh. Do you know what's funny? Is as you were talking, I just realized something that could explain away the gripe I had, that if this is the case, it would completely remove the gripe for me.
Okay, well, my rating is subject to change to a possible 5-star. I hate that because that really shakes up my whole MCU hierarchy. But it did something so insane at the end that I had a feeling it was going to do, and then they just did it, and it wasn't even an end-credit scene. It was they usually save that kind of garbage for like an end-credit scene. It was the end of the movie, and I was like, I can't believe they did it.
Yeah.
And please don't let this movie get spoiled for you. Please just go watch it. Oh,
such a good movie.
Even the title itself is like a thing. Just go watch it.
Yeah.
Just go watch the movie.
Yeah.
From there, let's just do it, man. Let's just jump into. I can't not anymore.
Yeah.
So
we gotta go.
Let's talk about it.
Oh my gosh. You know what's funny is we were just talking about this earlier. We've been holding in all the things we want to say about it.
We didn't even talk after the movie.
That's right, yeah.
And I mean, partially it's because you were having your daughter babysat. Your wife could not use the disgusting theater restrooms because they were horrid. I'm sorry. Look, I'm just going to be real because I'm going to leave a review.
Okay.
If you are in the South Carolina area, do not go to the Sandhills RPX and IMAX theater. Just don't.
Oh, we didn't even do the RPX. We just did a regular one.
Well, I'm saying don't go to that theater. Like that's the name of it. Like in everything I saw, that's literally the name is RPX and IMAX theater. Just don't.
Yeah.
Dirty.
Super dirty.
Old seating. I mean, not that the seating was bad. It was actually fairly comfortable, but I mean, it's old. It's outdated. Every other theater in this area has the reclining leather, heated, like all that stuff. It's like the old.
I wasn't
perpetually damp,
yeah,
like cotton cushions, whatever.
I wasn't so much concerned about that personally, but I see your point.
I'm not concerned with it, but my thing is, we paid $17 a ticket.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, if you're not gonna give me all the amenities that your sister theaters do, at least cut me a little bit of a deal on the price.
Yeah, I'll give you that for sure.
$1 or $2.
And they charge more for the RPX, which
Yes.
does have those features.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
That's a good point.
So I could have paid the same amount and gone and sat in better seating with a little bit more space and felt more comfortable at the other theater. Anyway, and had better service. Regardless, it wasn't a great theater experience.
There's bad theater etiquette there. A lot of people
Yeah.
talk during the movie. Now that was we got lucky when we watched it because there wasn't many people in the theater when we watched that movie.
Yeah.
So we only experienced a little bit of that, but it didn't affect the movie.
It really didn't. It only
and the
happened.
service was so bad that the employees had attitudes. They just didn't want you there.
How was your food?
It was okay.
I really wish y'all had told me. I would have just told you to take the extra few minutes and run through a drive-through. Honest, I would have, because
I didn't want to get food there.
Oh, I know.
Like,
I know.
it was,
But I've had theater food, and I mean, like, I'm probably more willing to pay for it than you are. I know you're big on, like, not throwing them a whole bunch of money for the concession. We've had that discussion on here. But, like, not only is it insanely priced, it's never that good.
yeah.
But like you said, you got cheese sticks,
Yeah.
which I've never seen at a theater, and there was had to be at least 8 in there. Were they good? I mean,
They were okay. They tasted like freezer cheese sticks that you'd get at a grocery store. So not like horrible.
okay,
But-
yeah, that's serviceable.
Yeah, not for the price, but
Well, yeah,
but yeah, I mean, it wasn't just like cafeteria food, like school cafeteria food or anything like that.
Anyway, not a
That
great
aside.
theater. The movie experience was fine. The theater experience was not.
Yeah.
And I had to throw that out there. I think that any business should be held accountable. I
Sure.
mean, you got to.
If you're gonna ask people for their money,
Yeah.
you got to be willing to.
Especially in a day and age where theaters are supposedly like fighting for their lives to stay open and be a thing that people go do. I mean, you gotta
That is such a good point.
step your game up.
Yeah.
You gotta make it worth it to get people out there.
Yep.
But that's my little rant. From there, let's move on. I want to start with this. When we sat down and the trailer started rolling, I asked you, how are you feeling about this going into it? Like, where were you at on an excitement level? And I'm gonna let you tell. Do you remember what you told me?
Yeah, I said something like, I mean, I think it's gonna be fun. I'm not really like, oh boy, I can't wait to see what happens. I was just kind of like, yeah, it'll be fun.
I'm not. Maybe you didn't do it intentionally, but like that was even like a little bit more enthused. Like you were very middling on it, and I don't know if you were doing that intentionally to set yourself up for like hoping it was really good and you would be like on a hear.
Sure.
But it came across as like you were like, I'm anticipating it to be good because I've heard a lot of good, but like I'm really trying to like level.
That's fair. I think that's where I was.
So after everything was said and done, I know we both just said we loved it, but where for you was like the first part in the movie that was like, oh, hold up, this is really good. Like, this is getting me already.
It was right before the gripe I had. So
Okay.
it was when they all showed up. Well, I don't even know because the opener was really good, but it was I even hesitate to use this phrase. It was a little boss baby, but like it was a little boss babe-ish, I should say.
Oh.
Not boss baby, but not enough to pull me out of the thing I was saying. I was like, all right, they're gonna do that thing, and then but the character was interesting in her dialogue, and then it went to Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who, what a fantastic actress.
Yeah.
She absolutely crushed this role.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen her in a role like this, and wow,
Except
it
for
was
all the other times she's popped up in the MCU in this role.
what? Julia Louis-Dreyfus?
Yeah, she's
She's been in the MCU?
in this role.
Oh, in this role.
Right. Like this character has been popping up.
She's been in previous movies?
Yeah, she popped.
What
Well,
movie?
Well, yeah, she popped up in end credits scene or at the end. Maybe it's at the end of the movie. No. It's an end credit scene of Black Widow to find Yelena.
Okay, I never saw that.
Which is her connection to Yelena. She was in the Falcon and Winter Soldier show, which is how she gets John Walker.
Oh. I didn't even know that. I stopped watching Falcon and Winter Soldier halfway through. Okay.
She's popped up in a couple places. Like there might even be one or two other places that I can't remember that she's popped up because she's been relevant.
Okay, well,
was she in Cap 4? She might have been in Cap 4.
I know she wasn't in Cap 4. We watched that movie together.
I know.
I would have remembered her because I remember seeing her in the trailer for Thunderbolts, and I was like, "Oh snap, she's in this movie."
Okay.
So, anyways, I know how much you love Seinfeld.
Seinfeldies.
Here's what's funny about this. She was my least favorite character in Seinfeld. I thought she was a good actress, but I just didn't like her character that much. In this movie, I was like, I'm a Julia fan. This is good stuff. I mean, she was such a the scene where they start and she's on trial and then she's like, this is all partisan, bogus, and this trial's a waste of time. And there's a little part of me that's like, please don't tie this into any modern political issues. And they didn't. They did that throughout the whole film. There was none of that. And I was so happy about that. It was like so refreshing. So then it switches over to the scene where she's like hiding all the evidence. She's like, oh crap, they're going to get like, make sure you hide everything and burn it all.
Burn everything. Kill everyone.
It was really funny. And it was like, oh, so she's the bad guy. Like that was a cool flip for me. Oh, actually, I do know the actual answer to your question now. Okay, well, the first moment when I was hooked, I was really drawn in at that moment. And then once Yelena and all of the people get into that room and they're fighting each other, and then they start popping up, and then Bob shows up and no one knows who, and he's like this funny, quirky character.
Yeah.
And he's like, who's Bob? Like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And that part, I was like, all right, this is shaping up to be a really good, like, Band of Misfits type story. I could see where it was going, and I was like, I'm into this. But then I don't remember ever having my jaw drop, other than maybe Spider-Man: Homecoming, when you find out that Vulture, the dad, is the dad of his lady interest. Other than that, I don't know if I've ever. You can kind of call this a twist. It was definitely unexpected, and I was like, my jaw fell to the floor when Bob got shot by all those. They were escaping the thing, and they just unloaded on Bob. Now, I knew he wasn't actually dead. I was like, there's no way they killed him. But the way he stood up, and then his eyes, and then he started floating, and everyone was just like, what is happening? My jaw was on the floor at that point. I was like, what is going on? Because the whole time, you don't know who this character is, and he's just this weird, funny dude. He's making you laugh the whole time, and then you're like, oh, dude, I know I'm getting ahead, but
no.
The fight scene when he comes out, when she introduces him as Sentry and he fights the Thunderbolts, like, that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
That whole scene.
Yeah. That was really well shot.
That was so good.
Like,
I'm just
I was watching that scene and thinking, this is the first time I can remember seeing a character feel invincible in the MCU.
Yeah.
Like even like the Hulk, Thor, Captain Marvel, all the heavy hitters. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you know they're not going to get hurt type thing. But I'm saying, like, it felt hopeless from the beginning.
Yeah.
They couldn't touch him. Literally. It was insane. And you kind of answered one of my other questions, because I was going to be like, so going into this, did you know who Sentry was or have any idea? So, yeah.
No idea.
Because as soon as they said Sentry Project, I was like,
oh, okay.
I know who Bob is.
Did they say that before he started flying?
Yeah, they kept showing little, like, Yelena was going through the papers and saw, like, all the different emblem variations for the Sentry and, like, all that. And
see, I didn't. Well, I knew he had something to do with the Sentry Project at that point, but I didn't know what it was.
But you didn't know he was the Sentry.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's another heavy hitter in the comics.
Yeah.
He's one that, like, goes toe to toe with, like, Thor and, like, all the heavy hitters.
He is everything that I love about Superman without any of the things that I have problems. I have a lot of problems with Superman. I've talked about it before.
Superman boring.
He is super boring. This is a Superman that is an incredibly well written character.
Yeah.
with a lot of weaknesses. It's not just kryptonite, you know.
And we kind of find that out because you that was one of your
that was
questions.
One of my gripes. Yeah,
you were like, does he have powers? Blah 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 blah. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. But yeah, I agree with you that it is an interesting kind of dynamic within himself of like he's that powerful, but like I don't know if we'll get to see him do it again. We have to. It's coming. But how is he going to overcome the possibility that he could flip, you know, whatever. But yeah, so for me, to answer my own question, I think I knew I was going to like this movie. Kind of like you, like going into it, I was expecting it to be good. I think my excitement level was a little bit higher because I had seen a lot of early reviews on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. On Twitter that like, you know, early people, like the people that got to go see it early to review it, and the embargo had lifted like a week or so ahead of the movie, which is always a good sign. And you know, the further back they lift it, the better, because it's like they want word of mouth to drum up, you know, more people to go see it. All the reviews were saying this movie was a breath of fresh air. You actually really worded it perfectly when you say it's everything you love about the MCU, but done in such a like new, refreshing way. I've heard a lot of people compare it to kind of like a Phase 2 film. We just heard a guy compare it to a Phase 2 film on TikTok. I would agree with that. It's very emotionally centered. There is a lot of like internal things with each character that you're kind of learning as you go along, and they're fighting this battle on the outside while fighting this battle on the inside, and it's very cool how they tie it all together, even though they're all kind of different, separate things. But the moment that like really hooked me, like the first one that I was like, okay, this is gonna be sick, is probably that first fight scene with that you're talking about, where they all show up at the compound in the mountain. The thing that keeps sticking out in my mind is because, so a little bit of, you know, explaining, hopefully no one who hasn't seen this is watching this, but just to refresh, maybe if you have seen it and it's been a minute or whatever, they all go there, they get called there by Valentina, but they are all there to kill each other. Like each of them is the target of another one. And then whoever is last man standing is basically going to get incinerated, burned away in an inferno, with all the rest of the evidence in the room. And so it breaks out into this huge, like, chaotic fight where, you know, while one person is trying to attack their target, you know, another person is coming after them. So it's almost like they're defending that person, but they're really not. They're just trying to kill their target, but then they're getting attacked by their person. And there's a part where Ghost is busy fighting with Walker because... No, wait. Walker wasn't her target. Taskmaster was. Anyway, regardless. Somehow she's busy fighting with Walker. And Yelena pulls a knife out of her boot or whatever and throws it at her. And she phase shifts, lets the knife go like through her, and then reaches out and becomes physical again and catches it and then throws it at Walker. I was like, oh, this is sick.
Yeah.
The choreography was great. And like he said, in the midst of this heated, insane, like very unique, cool fight, Bob pops out from nowhere. You're like, who? What? Who are you?
Yeah.
And thus ensues the partnership, you know, that comes to be or whatever. And that was kind of for me the moment where I was like, oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
If they can maintain this energy, this is going to be good. And they did.
They not only maintained it, it compounded. Mm-hmm. Like the energy kept growing.
I agree.
Dude, okay, can we talk about the gripe now, and then can I explain why I think it might not be a gripe anymore?
Let's talk about, since I brought it up. Yeah, you had a gripe with the Inferno. As it starts, they're going to get incinerated.
Yeah, so this is right, just to the scene you were just talking about.
Right.
This is right after all that. They're in that place.
They calm down.
Yeah.
And they talk for a second. And they realize, oh, we're all here to like tie each other's loose ends up.
Yeah.
They go to leave. Doors slam shut. Ghost is like, I can get through that.
Yeah.
She goes to phase shift, and a sound barrier stops her from even getting to the door. So they start to try and work together. Your first gripe was you thought it was way too easy for them to get her out of the room, like to get to the sound barrier source and get her out.
Yeah, well, I see, because there was the timer. Yeah. Okay.
And then the second gripe was, as the thing starts up to incinerate, there's a convenient digital timer clock thing on the wall showing them they have 2 minutes to do whatever they're going to do before they get turned into ashes.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was too convenient for me, because I was like, okay, you're going to pull these people into a room and kill them. First off, why not just as soon as they're there, just turn the incinerator on? Like, that didn't make sense if you just want to destroy it. Secondly, you're going to give them a timer? Why would you even put that? You can't see the timer. It doesn't benefit you at all. It just helps the people you're trying to kill. Then thirdly, it was way too easy. All they did was they were like, okay, well, we'll just find the battery that gets the sound barrier away from Ghost, or pulls the sound barrier away, and then that's what they do. They just find the battery, destroy it, and Ghost walks out and opens the door. And I'm like, and they knew how much time they had to do it. I'm like, that's way too plot convenient. Unless, massive spoiler coming up, which if you're here, you probably are okay with the spoilers at this point.
Yeah,
but
I hope. We gave a pretty good warning.
Yeah, it's if you are concerned about spoilers at all and you've made it this far, turn it off right here. But at the very end of the movie, Valentina. That's not technically wrong. At the very end of the movie, Valentina switches the whole situation and promotes the Thunderbolts as the new Avengers. Like, she was the one behind it all to save her own butt. But here is how the gripe could have maybe not worked, because she's had all these different plan Bs. Like, the Sentry Project didn't work out as far as she knew, so she was trying to find a solution to that problem.
Right.
And she realized as the end got nearer that the Thunderbolts were the solution to her problem. What if she put the timer there and the battery in a convenient spot to test and see how they would work together? And see, like, if they get out of this alive, I might be able to use this to my advantage. If they don't, then my evidence is burned up and I'm good.
As a constant Marvel apologist, I'm willing to roll with that. But as someone who knows how the internet works, I'll just go ahead and tell you the first thing people are going to point out is that there is literally a specific scene, if you remember, where she's in the limo with that girl Mel, and she's literally telling her how ridiculous of a notion it is that they would ever work together. They're like social disgraces. She thinks they're absolute trash.
Yeah, but she could have been putting on a show for Mel. Like,
I mean, maybe, but she seems genuinely shocked when Mel's like, they're working together, and like shows her the thing.
I actually disagree. I didn't think she seemed that shocked. She was just kind of like, oh, they are? Oh, like almost like she was like, okay, so that is what's going to happen.
I don't know. I mean,
if you think about it, every time things didn't work out her way, she had a way of moving it into her favor.
I will say, I mean, just the fact that, I mean, if this is the case, then to me it's kind of funny that you think this is a kind of an explain away thing for your gripe, because your original gripe was weird plot convenience.
Yeah.
And to me, this is like an even larger case of plot convenience, because it's like, oh, she's not even super abled. It's just, she's just a really good planner. Like, she just plans every possible, like, even the leader in Cap 4 was like that was his thing. Like, and he's a super genius. But
that's fair.
But I will say, to your point and to your credit, there is actually another thing in the movie, now that I'm thinking about it, that kind of hints that maybe she did know that this was a possible thing. Do you know what I'm referring to?
I don't.
Do you remember when they crash through the doors of Avengers Tower.
Oh, yeah.
And she goes, guys, I left the door unlocked. I knew you were coming. Come on up.
That's right, yeah.
She literally knew they were coming.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, by that point, she also knew they were alive. But I'm just saying, to your point, she planned for that. She knew they were going to come to her.
Yeah, I mean, these are people that have been working her for... She's not like the leader level where she's planning all these different scenarios and all these different... She's been working with these people for a really, really long time.
Yeah,
she's planning one
years.
specific thing.
Yeah.
That she knows these people. She's trying to accomplish this goal. So she's planning around that. Now, I'm not saying that's what it is. I just like this movie so much that I'm
willing to give it that.
Exactly. Like, I'm willing to find a way to explain that away.
Yeah.
And that could work, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like that. I think there's enough there to merit it. I think I'm not going to argue with someone who thinks that's ridiculous. I could see you thinking that it's not there, but I could see it being. And like you said, I enjoyed it enough to where, I mean, really, it didn't bother me anyway. Like, look, every movie has that timer situation. Like,
yeah, but they shouldn't.
Like, I mean, yeah, but you can't always write the perfect. Like here's the other thing. Sentry is going down the street later in the movie. Like, once he flips again, we'll get to all of this, but he flips. He's like going down the streets of New York, and he's just like flattening everyone into shadows, except for the group of main characters who are really the main ones he should be worried about.
Well,
they go in themselves. He never once got rid of them.
You're right. I thought that too when that was happening, and I was like, I don't like that. But
I'm like, this is just oh wow, yeah. The brightest costume wearing people out here are the ones you're not flattening onto the. Okay, yeah, huh? Good job. Huh?
Well, to me it looked like, and this is how I'm going to explain this one away. To me, it looked like he was starting from a point and spreading outward. It wasn't like he was targeting people, and it was eventually going to just get all of New York, which it did.
He was doing that, but there were times he was holding his hand out and doing this and just sending specific people into it instead of just letting it engulf them.
Well, that's true. I don't think that he was worried about the Thunderbolts at that point. I think he was just like, I don't know, and
I mean,
I don't think the Void character was motivated by the Thunderbolts either. I think he was just mad about the darkness of the world.
What are
in general.
The odds that none of them got, shadowed?
Well, they weren't in the radius until it started to come
No,
close.
But I'm talking about like when he was doing the thing.
Because he wasn't targeting them. He was just kind of randomly being like...
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Randomly, like, what are the odds? None of them were one who got shadowed.
Pretty good. I mean, New York has 20 million people in it.
They weren't all on that street.
No, but how many people are in just... He was doing multiple streets, too.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm just saying...
You're right. I'm just trying to give this movie everything I can, because it was such a good movie.
But that's why I'm saying, like, there's things like that throughout it and every other movie. I mean, it's just a thing that is. I mean, but regardless, that, like he said, and like we're kind of these are nitpicks.
Yeah.
The movie, all in all, is fantastic. But and to be honest, our whole point in bringing this up was he had gripes, and by the end, they were basically all squashed.
Yeah. Except for the one that I just brought up, which I've now squashed. The timer in the...
Yeah. So, moving on from there, yes, our heroes go in, they have the epic fight, they get out of the situation with the incinerator. They then have to crawl up a mile-long elevator shaft back to back to back to back using their feet. That was pretty funny.
Do you think that they were, because this is Disney owns Marvel, do you think that they were alluding to Emperor's New Groove in that? Because he kept saying left, right, and I was like, are they doing that on purpose?
I don't know. That's a good little connection and catch I didn't think of.
Yeah.
Possibly, but yeah, that's really funny. I did not think of that. It may be a little nod to another great movie. But yeah, they get up there, they get up to the top, and as they're about to leave, they find that they're being swarmed and surrounded by, SWAT, FBI, I don't know what the heck, but armed forces and Valentina, which is where we get the scene that you referred to where Sentry Bob at the time decides he's going to help the others escape by taking a gun and just shooting it into the air while running around and getting everyone's attention. So at that moment, you weren't thinking. So you said he got unloaded into, and you were like, he's not dead. But then you were like, but you said you were still kind of shocked, like when he got up. So I mean, what was going through your head at that point? What were you thinking?
Well, I was thinking that maybe he would recover, like they would get his body, but they would find Century's stuff, whatever project he was a part of helped him not die from it.
Gotcha.
Or maybe he would just kind of get up and be like, whoa, what was that?
Gotcha.
And he would have wounds or something. But I mean, he got up, not a scratch on him,
right,
and then flies, just starts flying into the air.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? That was totally unexpected.
Which from there, we get probably one of the other best scenes in the movie. As the trio that is left in the group right now, because, you know, what's her face? Taskmaster dies in the fight, the first fight. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
And so Yelena, Ghost, and U.S. agent / John Walker, whatever, are all walking through the desert to try and find a way to escape. And they start hearing a horn blaring, seeing a dust trail get kicked up. And this is where we get the entrance, the real entrance of Red Guardian to kind of join the team.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on Red Guardian? Did you see the Black Widow movie?
No.
So you didn't know Yelena or Red Guardian?
No.
Okay. What were your thoughts on both of them before we move on? Because I didn't know that.
You didn't know that I hadn't seen it?
I didn't know you hadn't seen that.
Yeah.
Because they were the two ones I was most looking forward to because I loved them in the Black Widow movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they were fantastic. I mean, awesome characters. The dynamic between the two, the character development. I was a little worried I was not gonna like Red Guardian, just from the trailers, because he is. I just didn't know what to think about him, and his character was different than I expected. I mean, he's so lovable, so hilarious, and so like just he's kind of like Captain America in the sense that he just wants to help.
Yeah,
he's just a little more doofy in how he does it,
and a little more attention hungry. Like he does want the fame with it.
Yeah, but he never struck me. I mean, that is true, I guess, especially with the end credits scene, because he was like holding up the Wheaties box. So yeah, you're right about that. But yeah, that was so funny. But
so many choices.
Dude, that movie was so funny. That was probably one of the biggest surprises in it for me, is how funny the movie was. Like, I wasn't expecting it to be that. I thought they'd have some like Avengers humor in there, but it was like at least 50% comedy.
Yeah,
if not more.
It was very funny, and the thing about it, a large part of it comes from Red Guardian, and I think the highest praise I saw anyone give David Harbour for his portrayal of the character in this film was that it wasn't even that like they were going for that classic like Marvel quippiness with him, like that's a lot of people just feel is kind of played out. It's not that the things he was saying was necessarily supposed to be funny. It's how he said the things he was supposed to say.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing where they crash in to the Avengers Tower, and then she comes over the intercom after they've been fighting for a couple minutes, and she's like, I just had that drywall put in. Like, I left it unlocked. Just come up. Like,
yeah.
And then Bucky, like, headbutts a guy, and Red Guardian's like, yes! Like, he just gets so excited about any amount of fighting or, like, action. Like, he just wants to be in it, man. He just wants to be in it.
Yeah.
The thing where they're in the scary rooms or whatever, and he just rips a random pillow. Like, it's not even one of the things attacking them. He just, pillow! Like, he's so funny, man. He's so good. He eats up the scenery every time he's in it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So
fantastic.
So you like both of them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Great characters.
Were they your favorites? Who was your favorite?
Oh, man, that's hard. I know my least favorite was Ghost. I didn't dislike her. She just, I think, didn't bring as much as the others.
I will say I hate that I agree with you on that. I hate that I do, because the thing of it is, this movie did such a good job at taking characters from other things from the MCU that like were either maybe somewhat underwritten or just like not really overly loved, and making them so awesome in this. And Ghost was like a notoriously like underwritten, kind of like not great villain in Ant-Man and the Wasp, the second one. That like I was really looking forward to her getting it. And I mean, she does get some redemption in this. She's a cool character. And I mean, the fact that they kept her around means that they saw promise in her being a part of this new team as one of the new Avengers or whatever.
Yeah.
But I kind of hate it because you get like a good bit more backstory with like John Walker, Yelena. We don't really get more backstory with Red Guardian, but like you were just saying, like we don't need it. He's just the lovable, funny guy. Like, and then we know Bucky. I mean, we've known Bucky for the longest. So I mean, all the rest of them, you just kind of know. We learn a lot about Bob because of his role in this film.
Yeah.
So the only one you really don't get a lot of that of is Ghost, sadly. And I'm hoping they expound on that a little bit as we go. I have a strong feeling that they just won't, because they might need to kind of leave the door open for some expendable characters.
Yeah.
Because there's gonna be some deaths coming up.
Sure.
There will be some deaths coming up for sure. But yeah, I agree with you on that. She was. If I had to rank them, she'd be at the bottom.
Yeah.
But moving up though, like who if you had to pick one,
my favorite one,
your favorite character. I mean, it could be anyone in the movie. Like it doesn't have to be one of the, you know.
That's really difficult. I think I would just pick Red Guardian just because of how funny and fun he was.
That's fair.
But I liked Bucky in this film. I've never not liked Bucky in any of the films, but I liked him even more in this film than I've liked him in the past. Dude, his entrance when the vehicles are chasing down Red Guardian in the limo and all the other guys, and Bucky shows up, that was the most awesome Bucky entrance in the MCU. That was so awesome. Yeah, I was like, get it, Bucky!
Yeah.
Like, pumped me up.
I loved him just shoot. I was wondering what he was going to do with that shotgun, and then he just shoots the latch off of that like metal rope.
Yeah.
And then flips the car. I was like, oh man, that was so extra, but I love it.
I know.
You didn't even have to do that, but I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it too.
And then they're like cheering, like, yeah! And then he's like, bam, it hits them too. Like, oh. All right.
Another thing too is Walker. I hated him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I hated that character. I was like, why did they even? I'm sure he's a comic book character, but I was just like, why did they even bring this guy in? I don't like this guy. This guy sucks. He's not Captain America, and I even stopped watching the show, not because of him, although he didn't help. After he killed the guy is when I stopped watching. Yeah, because I was like,
oh, well, you watched more than half of it then. That's near the end.
Okay, well, yeah. After he killed the dude, I was just like, what? Like, I don't know.
That's a huge moment from the comics. Like, that is a huge, massive moment, because U.S. Agent is a character in the comics, and they did try to, like, make him a more, like, kind of bring the Captain America mantle back under the guise of the government, instead of him just, because Cap had gone off to be Nomad. Technically, they never call him that, but that's who he is in
Endgame?
Infinity War and Endgame. He's not Cap.
Yeah.
He's Nomad. That's why, like, in Infinity War, he's got like the blacked out stars and stripes instead of it being red and white and blue, because he's done with America. Like, he's done with the government.
Yeah.
He's done with
after Civil War.
Yeah. Like he felt betrayed, and he's technically on the run anyway. So, you know, he left that alone. Well, in the comics, a similar thing happens, and he goes on to be Nomad, and in the absence of a Cap, the government goes out and gets another soldier to fill his place, but they call him U.S. Agent. And that is that thing of him using the shield to kill someone is a huge thing in the comics, because it completely ruins the whole thing, because they're like, you just ruined your entire image for the world and the United States. You cannot be U.S. Agent anymore. And it's a downward thing for him. But I love that he was written to be so hateable in that show. We talk about perspective, because the perspective of that show, you're watching it from like the perspective of someone who's known Cap throughout all the MCU, and Bucky and Sam, and you know that Cap gave the shield to Sam, and that he's supposed to be the new Cap. And So you're watching it from that perspective. So anyone who's opposing that is a jerk. They're the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then in this movie, you're like, oh man, like he's like had a rough go of it. Like he had something really good going for him, and he really ruined it. Like
yeah,
he made a mistake. And don't get me wrong, he did make a mistake. Like I really like how they wrote his character in Falcon and Winter Soldier, personally.
Well, I'll hold that against you.
Okay, that's fine. I like a character that is, flawed but likable. He was likable. Like if you go back,
I didn't think he was likable in the show.
If you go back and watch the first few episodes, he tries so hard to make amends with Bucky and Sam and to have them like on his side and help him instead of being against him and just like not offering any advice. Like they really, if it wouldn't have been for their stubbornness, they could have like offered him advice and told him. The two closest people to Cap could have explained to him, like, if you want this mantle, this is how Steve was. Like, this is how you need to be. And could have kind of guided him. But they refused. And after they refused so many times, at that point, he's trying to do his job, and they're getting in the way. He was trying to stop terrorists, and they were stopping him from stopping terrorists. And it's kind of like a whole thing of, like, they were trying not to kill the terrorists, and I think he was trying to kill them, and they didn't want him to, and it's like...
I probably would like... If I went back and watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, I probably would like him now because of Thunderbolts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they left enough likableness to his character to where it's like, he's not a straight-up jerk. He goes too far, and he makes a mistake, but I never, like, hated his character. I thought I was going to leading up to that show coming out. I was like, I'm going to hate that guy. He's got like a smug face. I can't stand him. I was like, I kind of like this guy. Like he's a good actor.
He is. Hey, even from the very start, I liked him more because even in his jerk kind of attitude, he was hilarious. Like the part where they're in the incinerator trying to find... Bob said, what are we looking for? And he said, we're looking for not dumb questions, Bob.
He kept calling him Bob, like all like condescending. Yeah. No, he was great, man. But so yes, I wanted to touch on that. So we talked about Bucky's entrance, great entrance. From there we moved to he's got them tied up in like a garage, and they're waiting on a flight to come evac them and get them. He's gonna take them in. They're gonna be evidence in his congressional case to get Valentina impeached, because I guess she's the president now, which is crazy.
No, she's not the president. She's a director of the CIA.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. They kept saying impeached, and I just thought president.
No, she was the director of the CIA.
Well, yeah, they're going to impeach her from that then. I didn't
Wait
know
a second.
You could impeach from more than one thing.
Now I don't know. I'm pretty sure that she's just the director of the CIA. They never mentioned her being president. Yeah, because he even calls her Madam Director at one point. He doesn't ever call her Madam President.
Oh, okay.
And she never had the Secret Service working for her either.
That's fair.
But you've got me. I'm like, is she? But no, I don't think she was. Who did they ever say who Ross's VP was when he was in the last?
I don't remember. That's why I'm saying I really feel like I remember seeing her briefly in that movie, like quickly, not like a big deal, but just like a quick cameo. And I feel like I remember being like, "Oh crap, she's in this." Okay, I could be wrong, but that's why I remembered that.
Keep talking. I'm gonna look this up now.
Anyway, all that to say, they're gonna be evidence in the case that Bucky and his people are kind of building to impeach her from whatever position she's in, and while they're in that garage, they're trying to explain to him about Project Sentry and Bob's existence and what they saw happen to him. And, Bucky's not having it. He's not taking it, doesn't believe it. And then all of a sudden his phone rings, and it's Mel, which is Valentina's like right-hand girl. And she is explaining the exact same thing. And I love the thing where she's like, yeah, it's Bob. And he goes, Bob. And everyone else goes, Bob. Yeah, like we've been telling you, Bob.
That was great.
But yeah, so that was like really funny. And then, after that, obviously now Bucky is on the team. So now we have 5. Thunderbolts, which, by the way, I love where the name Thunderbolts comes from.
Yeah, me too.
So, again, cannot imagine you're still here if you haven't seen the movie. But if you are, or if it's been a while, to refresh, in the comics, the Thunderbolts comes from Thunderbolt Thaddeus Ross because he like runs the team. He's like how Amanda Waller for Suicide Squad was. I'm pretty sure that's how he is with Thunderbolts. There may be some iterations where he's on it, like as Red Hulk. But he runs the team. He's like one of the members / runs it. So that's where it comes from. Makes a lot of sense. I think when this movie was originally being made, that's what was supposed to happen. But then, there was everything got pushed back, and the strikes and the this and the that, and Marvel was making all these huge changes to like kind of get the MCU back on track to hurry up and do Doomsday and Secret Wars and all this stuff. And then the actor who played Thunderbolt originally died, and then they recast with Harrison Ford. I think it changed a whole lot of stuff, and so they made a decision that I think actually worked surprisingly well, where in the film, the name Thunderbolts is a joke. That when they're standing in the hallway before they get out of the compound they're originally in, John decides he's going to brag on himself of how he should be the leader of the team because he was the team captain of his high school football team, and they won 3 state championships back to back to back, and blah blah blah. And so Yelena, as a snarky comeback, is talking about how she was on a pee-wee soccer team that was sponsored by so-and-so, some like auto shop, and they were named the whatever Thunderbolts, and they never won a game at all their whole season, and one of the girls pooped in the middle of the field in one of the games. And so, as a joke throughout the movie, which is, I always kept wondering why the title had an asterisk beside it in all the promotional stuff. And it's because that's what like Hollywood does for placeholders, and it's a placeholder title because they keep calling themselves the Thunderbolts, but it's a complete joke. They never really go by that. And then, like he said, at the end of the movie, it is revealed they're not the Thunderbolts. This is the new Avengers, which I had a sneaking suspicion that going into this, kind of like my last few days leading up into this, I'm like, it was kind of rumored, but like I never, you never know what to put merit into with the rumor. I was like, I just don't know if they do that. That's a huge jump. And the main rumor was that it'd be the Dark Avengers, which is another team. And I was like, I could kind of see it. Like they're all kind of like anti-hero-ish. Like I could see them. Maybe they will do Dark Avengers. So when she said the new Avengers, I was like, oh my God, that was so cool. Cool, huge reveal. I loved it.
I'm glad you explained it to me because I'm not a comic book person.
Right.
Because I was like, wait a second, Sam Wilson, in the last Captain America, he's supposed to be bringing the Avengers together. What the heck is this? Right. But then you explained that it's a separate line. And then in the end credits scene,
I was going to say,
they explained that there's tension now.
Well, no. Oh, yeah, in the end credits, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, and it's even bringing tension between Bucky and Sam.
And Bucky and Sam are having a back and forth because Yelena's asking Bucky to talk to him about this whole thing. Apparently, there's like stuff in the news about like who's the real Avengers and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, Bucky says, I tried and it didn't go well. So we don't know what's going on with that. There's a 14-month, there's a little more than a year time jump from the end of the movie to that post-credit scene. By the way, I think that's straight from Doomsday.
The 14-month?
That scene, I'm.
Oh.
Do you remember? At the end of was it Falcon? No, not Falcon and Winter Soldier. Might have been the end of Avengers 2. Yes, end of Avengers 2. Do you remember? There's a scene where Cap and Sam are talking. They're in like some auto garage somewhere, and they've got Bucky trapped in like a hydraulic press, and they're like having a conversation about we could call Stark, and he's like, that won't go well, blah blah blah. and it's a lead up to Civil War.
Yeah.
But when we see Civil War, that scene is in Civil War.
Yeah.
I think this is the same thing. I think this is a lead up to Doomsday, but I think this exact scene will be near the beginning of Doomsday. Because there's another huge thing that happens in that scene. Do you want to talk about that now, or you want to wait?
I guess we can talk about it because, well, let's wait just because there's still a couple things. Oh, wait, no, did we already talk?
Well, we haven't talked about the Sentry thing yet, so we could also come back to the end credit scene.
Yeah, let's come back to the end credit scene. Let's move chronologically through the movie to make sure that we
cover all our bases here.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Bucky lets them go.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, what were you were looking something? Did you find
Oh, yeah. The president is unknown right now.
Okay.
So
okay.
They said that the what do you call it? Summarization said that Thaddeus Ross stepped down, but they never revealed who the vice president was in the movie. So who is president is it's totally.
So we don't really know what she is that she's getting impeached from or trying to get
the CIA director.
Oh, that is official. Regardless of the president thing, that is official.
Yeah, I think they're trying to impeach her from that position.
Okay.
Which I don't really understand how that works. I mean, that's what I thought in the movie.
I didn't know impeaching was anything other than a presidency. That's why it confused me.
No, you can get impeached from any office.
Okay.
So, but I don't know how the CIA thing works because from my understanding, bureaucracies, especially intelligence bureaucracies, the president just fires and hires for those positions. That's what I've always thought. I could be wrong on that. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, the FBI director and stuff, the president just hires or fires that person. Or,
of course, we could be doing what we always get mad at people for doing and, like, way overthinking this. They could have just used the term impeach, and maybe it just doesn't matter what her position. We know she's in the government. That's like...
Yeah, she's in the government, and I thought you could only get impeached from elected offices. So, I don't know.
Fair.
I don't know.
So... Okay, so that's what we found out with that. President unknown right now. Makes sense. He unties them. Now we have a team of 5. They get in a truck, and they're driving through New York, and we get a couple cool, little, cute, funny conversations. One in the back of the truck, with Yelena and Ghost talking to John about his hat.
Yeah,
which I thought was funny. Seeing him he's typically got like such an ego, and then he's got like these 2 girls there, and someone like him's probably like trying to be like, you know, Mr. Macho, and they're like completely making fun of him.
Yeah.
Like, oh, do you like the hat? He's like, yeah, the hat's cool.
That, by the way, that only works with Walker. That dynamic right there.
Yeah.
That's what I love what they did about this, because it didn't feel like some kind of gender statement. It had to do with his character.
Right.
That's what was so
They're
funny.
not doing it because he's a guy. They're doing it because he's kind of a jerk and he's kind of full of himself.
Yeah.
And they're like humbling him a little bit.
If that had been like Cap or even Iron Man, like that would have really fans would have hated that.
Iron Man would have reacted different.
Yeah. Well,
Tony Stark would have been like come up with some snarky thing to say back to her about like her batons or her wrist things or something.
That's my point, is they couldn't humiliate Iron Man in the same way.
No,
they did it good.
Well, I didn't even find it humiliating. It's like it's humbling. It's humbling. And I could see them trying to do something like that with Tony Stark because he's also an egomaniac, but with him it would have Tony Stark's ego is impenetrable.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't have gotten through the way you did with... Walker's is more like a front.
Yeah, that's...
Tony's is literally like his Iron Man suit.
Yeah.
Like, it's... you ain't getting through that. Like,
yeah.
So it's different. But yeah, you're right. It works best because of that. It made it funny. Then we move up front, and you got Bucky and Red Guardian, which is another hilarious pairing.
Yeah.
And he's... So, which serum did you get?
Yeah.
And he's like... the old stuff, Hydra, I don't know. And he's like, oh, that's good stuff. Yeah, I got the Russian stuff, but it's still good. We're the same. Yeah. You get tired, I drive. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, man. It's so it was so funny.
Yeah, it was really good.
Because I thought Bucky would be like annoyed by him, but he actually just kind of seemed cool with him. Like, they're just talking. Like, they literally felt like 2 dudes just driving cross country.
Yeah.
Then we do get to the point where So again, another big reveal. We hear Valentina talk a couple times about going to HQ, and it is revealed that she now is the owner and inhabitant of what was Stark Tower that became Avengers Tower that became uninhabited. It has been a huge question for a while who is in that tower, and as of right now, it is Valentina.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy to me. I thought for sure it was going to become the Baxter Building for the Fantastic Four, or that we would get Fisk Tower and it would be Wilson Fisk's setup, which it still may be later down the road. I don't know. We'll see. But as of right now, it is Valentina's base of operations. So they crash in, they have a little fight, and it's really just to set up a joke that, like, they didn't even need to do that. The door was unlocked. They're trying to renovate. They just ruined a week's worth of work. She left the thing open, just come up. So they all go up top, and we have a very tension-filled moment of all these people confronting her. You know she's not going to go quietly. We, at this point, have not seen Bob in a while. The last time we saw him, he was in a hospital bed talking to her, or no, it was when she was training him.
Yeah,
she was training him with the glass of water, and so we really haven't seen Bob in a minute. Well, they finally go to take her in, and when Bucky goes to like grab her to handcuff her or whatever, his hand like stops, and he can't put his hand on her shoulder, and she goes, "I'm not alone." And then we get the big costume reveal. Bob comes down the stairs in full Sentry getup. What'd you think of the Sentry costume?
I liked it.
I really did too.
I liked it a lot.
It looks sleek. It looks unique. It doesn't look like anyone else's in the MCU. I really, really dug it. A lot of times the MCU suits get kind of a not a bad rep, but like kind of like a lot of people say they're very samey. If you look at a lot of like the chest pieces and stuff, they all look very similar. A lot of like X's, like Cap has like the straps. Iron Man, the way his chest plate, like the parts that come out, they kind of, and it all kind of looks samey. But Sentry's looks legit like a superhero costume. It kind of looks, you kind of referred to him earlier as like a Superman. He kind of looks like a Superman in a way. I really dug it. I like the big belt buckle thing with the big Sentry S. It all looked really, really good. He looked good in it. I hated the blonde hair.
Oh, really? I liked it.
I didn't like it. Maybe it's because that's not how we got to know him. So when he comes out, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, no, I liked the blonde hair. I thought it fit the costume.
I guess it does. That could just be me being a hater. I don't like change. Like, I wish you would have just gave him to me blonde from the beginning. Then I'd be like, okay, he's blonde.
Yeah.
But I that entire fight scene was, my heart was beating in my throat.
Me too.
I thought someone else was gonna die.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I know he knows these guys, but like, what has she told him?
Yeah.
How far is he willing to go? And I did love that afterwards she was like, go finish the job. And he was like, no, I'm not, they're not a threat to me. I'm not going to kill them. Loved that, because that's still Bob coming through.
Yeah.
And it really helped differentiate Bob Sentry from like the Void Sentry. Which, let's get into that a little bit, because what ends up happening, obviously the big mayhem at the end of the movie, he starts to realize that he's so powerful, he doesn't need to listen to Valentina. Why would he? He's a god. And I did think it was hilarious that she was like, well, I don't think you know, like, you're making a lot of assumptions.
She said you're using the word God loosely.
Right. And he was like, well, you said that I'm stronger than the whole team of Avengers, and that has at least one god. And she just kind of looks at it. I was like, that's a fair point. Yeah. He's really got you there. Yeah. So that was funny. And then, so he starts to realize how strong he is. She has a kill switch that was kind of alluded to earlier in the film, and we think she's about to knock him flat. Before she can, he rushes forward and grabs her by the throat and just starts choking her up against the wall. She can't do anything. This is one of the parts where, like, you were talking at the end of the movie about how good you thought she was as a villain. That was one of the parts for me where I was like, great villain, because she didn't flinch. She literally looked him dead in the eye, being choked to death, and was like, I'm not scared of you. I was like, that's awesome. That reminded me of Stan Edgar in The Boys, like staring Homelander down, knowing he's a superpowered psychopath, and being like, you're pitiful. You're pitiful. All you want is the adoration of men. Like you're nothing. You're damaged product. Like the gall as a normal human being to look someone like that in the face and say stuff like that to them. That's a good villain.
Yeah.
And that's the only kind of person that could ever hope to control those kind of people.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it made sense.
That's why okay. So the kill switch alone and his dynamic with Valentina already had me, because this was another gripe I had. The fight with Sentry, he was so powerful. I was simultaneously just in complete awe of how incredible this scene was, and also feeling like this guy's way too overpowered. Like, that's why I hate Captain Marvel. But they did it with in such a way, and I couldn't explain it at the moment, but as I'm thinking about it, for one, the kill switch alone, the fact that she put a kill switch in there that could just kill him and end it all, that was like, okay, that at least makes it better than Superman, because, you know, it's not like Kryptonite where it's like, just get some green rock and then you can hurt him. It's like, if she hits that, it's over, you know? So that was one thing. And I'm starting to realize it now. It was his emotional dynamic that made it so much different, because he's so unstable. Like, Superman is a perfect guy with great intentions, wants everything. Bob was an abused kid that was super unstable. He hasn't been healed. He hasn't been, able to have a family around him. He was
a recovering drug addict.
Exactly. He's he's a likable character.
Right. He's a good guy.
But he's not ready, and he's able to be manipulated and controlled.
Yeah.
So, but because the fight was like, it was like Superman. It was like punching iron. Like, every fist was just, he wasn't flinching at all.
That thing where Bucky like takes his jacket off and just goes off on him and he's not moving, and then rips his arm off.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they're cooked.
Yeah.
They're done.
I know. I kept waiting for them to find some kind of angle. It was worse than Thanos. Yeah. They did better against Thanos than they did against him.
All that for a drop of blood.
Yeah. I was completely just blown away. And then they hit the kill switch. And at that point I was thinking, okay, at least they got rid of the overpowered dude. I still didn't like that they were, mind you, I wasn't hating the movie. I was still just like, that was an amazing scene.
I know how you are with like things that just get so powerful that they become a plot thing of their own.
Yeah. It's like, well, what's the point? I mean, there's got to be something. And then, like I said, though, I'm starting to realize now already his emotional instability is what makes him. And then they did that. So going into the end credit scene after that, they addressed this gripe of mine the most beautiful way you could possibly imagine. This is how Superman should have been done. Maybe not exactly like this, but at least this template they should have used. Like, he says in the end credits scene, he can only become Sentry. So I actually kind of breezed over something. They do the kill switch. They killed him, but he didn't really die because the Void took over. And so just that little caveat
Which
there.
is kind of the Void, by the way, for comic people.
For non-comic people?
Well, for comic people who know what the Void is in the comics, this is more like a personification of his dark side.
Yeah.
Like all the hurt and abuse and trauma he's been through kind of takes over as the Void. They keep referring basically to depression in this movie as a void. Yelena does it right at the beginning in her voiceover like narration. And so, yeah, to what Daniel's saying, when they kill him, he dies. Essentially, Bob gets knocked offline, but the Void takes over the Sentry's body. So go ahead.
Yeah. So then at the end credits scene, so Bob is back after they rescue him from the Void. Bob comes back too, but he doesn't remember anything and he doesn't know how to use his powers. The 14 months later in the post-credit scene, he explains, I can only be Sentry if I also let the Void.
Well, I don't even know if it's at least it's a risk. He's saying we don't know. Like, he apparently hasn't used his powers in over a year because there's a chance if he unleashes it, the Void takes over.
Yeah, well, that could be what it was. I was more thinking like he has to. The way he's described it to me, it sounded like he has to like draw from the void to use it.
Oh,
so like
that might be.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna go see it again with my wife and brother, and I'm gonna pay attention to that, and I'll let you know if I come away thinking differently.
But it's kind of still similar because it's like he has to risk letting the void take over his emotions. Like he's gonna be volatile. So
either way, he's somehow, some way, shape, or form, the void. It's a risk.
Yeah,
him using his powers at all is a risk from here on out for him.
Right. So it's the perfect Superman because this established, like, I've always hated Superman because I thought he was too powerful and whatever. This is perfect because you get all of the like power of Superman, but you have a reason to pretty much never use it unless you absolutely have to.
Yeah.
So he's gonna try in every scenario to not use his power.
Yeah, it's like a more controlled Hulk.
Yeah.
Because like even Hulk, they kind of figured out like in Avengers 2, like how to bring him back down.
Yeah.
If they have to go through what they went through at the end of this movie every time to bring Sentry back down, that's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough. By the way, since we're kind of on that ish kind of here, I want to talk specifically about the end of the movie and
with the whole void thing.
Yeah, them being in the void. That started off so confusing for me, but then the more it went, first of all, it was so cool how they shot it. The way they jumped from scene to scene by going through different things and then they like fall into the next one was so cool. The heavy stuff they touched on, man.
Oh, yeah, dude.
John Walker losing his family. Yelena, like, dealing with, which I know you probably, not that you, like, didn't understand it, but, like, you probably didn't connect with it as much because you didn't see Black Widow. But the entire Black Widow movie is really kind of like a metaphor, like, allegory for child trafficking. Because what you kind of find out in that movie is that Black Widow, like the one we knew, and then her sister, who's this Yelena, were basically victims of child trafficking in Russia, where they would find these young girls and gather them up, kidnap them, and then sell them into this thing where they go through the academy, the Red Room that you always heard Black Widow, and train them up to be assassins. They would do operations on them to make them like barren, where they can't have kids, so they wouldn't have any connection to anyone, and like go through all these torturous things to make them as hardened, as tough, and as like deadly, like basically living weapons, as possible. And to see a little bit more of Yelena's side of that, because we've seen glimpses of what, I forget her name in the movies other than Black, like her actual Natasha. To see, we've seen a bit of what she's been through. To see a bit of what Yelena went through, it's always crazy the things they come up with that, like, it seems like they always one up it. Because like I thought it was the worst thing in Age of Ultron to see Natasha having the visions that Scarlet Witch gave her about her going through the operation and then going through her final test where she had to shoot someone. And then in Black Widow, they show some stuff too. I'm like, oh my God, this is awful. And then in this one, you see, Yelena as a young girl, like, draw one of who I guess she had to kind of fake befriend another young girl, draw her out into the woods so that she could get shot and killed. And that was like one of her tests as a girl. And then they show another scene in this void thing where it's a line of girls at a long table and they have to like hurry and put together a gun as quick as possible. And as soon as you're done, you raise your hand, and Yelena was the first one. And she stands up and goes to the front of the class. And what it is anyone else who didn't do it, like the first one doesn't get the punishment. And everyone else who didn't get the gun, they put their hands out on the table. And the teacher gets like a huge whip and just starts lashing their hands. And it was so, it's heavy, but it was so heartbreaking to see current Yelena covering young Yelena's ears and eyes, like not letting her hear or see it. Because you realize that, like, it still hurts her. And she, oh, man. So that was amazing.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, the metaphor of the way they kind of do the final thing with Bob and the Void is that they have to go through his stuff to get him out, to kind of stop, to kind of bring him back up to the top of his own brain so that he's taken over the body again. And they're going through this thing, and like Daniel kind of said, like you see he was abused. His father beat his mom, and then he would try and get in the middle and blah, blah, blah. So they go through this stuff, and then, they go through where he was on meth, and he was in the chicken costume with the sign, which was sad but funny. It's a little moment of kind of levity in there. They get through all that. Then the final thing is you're back in the lab from the beginning of the movie that Yelena was in and destroyed, where Bob went to try and get help, to try and get this medical procedure that would make him better, would make him stronger. And of course they lied, because the kind of things he really needed, they weren't offering. They were looking for human test subjects. And they have this fight there, this standoff with him and the Void. And I thought it was so clever that, first of all, what the Void did was tie everyone up and move them away, and was like feeding into Bob's head that you're alone. You'll always be alone. You're alone. You're alone. You're alone. And he was trying to fight that and not listen to that. And he wanted, the Void to let them go, not hurt them, especially Yelena. They have like a real close connection in this film. And they start to fight. And he's kind of getting his butt kicked. And then all of a sudden...
Well, he says, I think this is important too, is before he fights the Void, he says, I'm stronger than you.
Right.
And the Void says, we'll see.
Right. So, good point.
He does that to bait him into a fight.
Good point. They start fighting, and you're thinking, oh crap, he's getting beat. How are they going to get out and help him? And they don't. And then he ends up tackling him to the floor and just wailing on him. Bam, bam,
That's
bam.
Bob tackling the Void.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. To be specific. Sorry. Good point. Bob tackles the Void, and he's just wailing on him. You're like, oh man, okay, awesome. He's doing it. He's doing it. In my mind, this is what's going through my mind when I'm watching. I'm like, oh man, this is such a beautiful, picture, like putting it in a visual representation of like overcoming and beating your depression and the things that hold you down. And then Bucky looks at Yelena, he goes, this isn't right.
Yeah.
And then the Ghost and Walker, they're all telling him like that the Void wants him to do it. And you're like, oh crap, wait, this isn't good. This is not a moment of victory. And I'm like, where are they going with this?
The room also separates.
They're getting further and further away. And I'm like,
the friends are getting further away from Bob.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where are they going with this? And then they break free. They all like do what they can to push out of their things. Yelena comes and wraps her arms around him, and then Walker and they all kind of like are pulling him off up because he's slowly being overcome by the darkness that is the Void. And then it hit me. I was like, oh my gosh. He's literally beating himself up.
Yeah.
For all the things he went through, and they're stopping him, and like basically like it's not your fault, like you're punishing yourself, and like showing that what you need is support and people you can rely on and people that care about you, and they pull him off, and that's how they get out.
Yeah.
It was so well written.
I know, so good. And I think the line "I'm stronger than you" is important because
Yes.
it shows us that that's often how we approach our mistakes from the past.
Yeah.
Is we think, I'm better than that person. I can beat that person. And there's a whole lot of and that's typically how we do it. We try to beat that person up.
Yeah.
And we say like, I'm going to be better than you. I'm not going to be that, and that's not actually the answer.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, if you look back to like how Yelena beat her thing and got out of it, in each one, she tried to like fight it at first, and then to finally get out of it, she almost like had to like passively get out of it.
Yeah.
Like she couldn't fight herself on this stuff. She had to accept that like it happened and it was awful, and just let it go and like move on. man, it was so beautiful. It was
Yeah.
really, really heavy, but really beautiful.
Yeah.
And
I don't know how this movie managed to be so funny and so like hard to watch at the same time.
what a balance.
Yeah.
And they never undercut the heaviness.
Right.
Like
The humor.
Or the humor.
Yeah.
They always let each one play out. Marvel is notorious for undercutting a heavy or like emotional moment with like a quip. I'm not gonna say it didn't happen. I can't remember it happening.
Yeah.
They let the heavy stuff, even the before they go into the void, the interaction between Red Guardian and Yelena, like that could have just not went the way it did at all. But they really let them play it out and have a real conversation. You could tell he was trying to deflect with humor at first,
Mm-hmm.
but like she was really hurt and he just broke down. I was like, okay, let's talk about like what is going on? Like, and they had a very real conversation. And then, okay, it did kind of end with a joke, but it was more like a heartfelt, like when she's like, okay, that was pretty good. And like, but she's wiping her eye. It's not like a ha 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 moment. It's like a breathe. Like, okay, you put it out there. It's off your chest. Like, and then we immediately go into the action set. And I got chills watching the team come together in the street after that moment. And after she just told all of them off and walked away, she was really horrible to Walker in that moment. By the way.
Yeah.
That was rough.
It was so, but it was, I'm glad they put it in there because it made you care for Walker more.
Yeah. No, for real.
Because like, Walker's been such a jerk and you're like, there's a simultaneous, you deserved what she said to you, but it was still too much.
That was too far.
Yeah.
and it hit harder because you kind of already think they're a team at that point.
Yeah.
And they got their butts kicked. This is right after they got their butts kicked by Sentry. He lets them go. They go down the elevator, and they're walking out of Avengers Tower. They're standing on the sidewalk, and they're all kind of like okay. I mean, they know they lost, but like they're okay. They're alive, and they're like, okay, what do we do? And she's like done. Yelena's like that was her breaking point. And she starts individually telling off each one of them one by one. And when she gets to Walker, he's like, oh, is it my turn? She's like, no, you already know you're trash, Walker. And so does your family. That's why they left you. I was like,
yeah.
Oh, my God. Like that is unlike anything you ever hear in a Marvel. I've never heard anything like that in a Marvel movie, ever.
Yeah,
that
same.
Was heavy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like you said, it was smart to put it in there. Because you don't want him to feel untouchable because that lends to him not being likable. But the fact that she was able to say that and get away with it is like, oh man, I actually kind of feel bad for him because he was trying to stand up for Red Guardian when she jumped on him.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, to go from that to that emotional conversation and then right into the big set piece where they're saving people in the street and you kind of slowly start to realize, wait a minute. They're like a team now. Like all of a sudden they're like working together and like saving lives and people are cheering for them and they realize it. It was beautiful, man. It was
so good.
The whole ending, the whole third act of the movie was really, really good.
All the movie was great. But yeah, you're right. Yeah. So you're saying that you almost cried a couple times. There was only one time where I almost cried. It was the scene where you were just talking about a second ago when Yelena and her father were talking toward the end after she storms away. And then she said, how could you left me? You didn't even talk to me for a year.
Yeah.
And then he said, this is so good because it completely subverted my expectations about why fathers typically do stuff like that in movies. And he said, you're right. I don't know how to do this. And then he said, I thought you didn't want me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, especially as a dad of a daughter, you know, like that was like, wow. Like, I don't even know how to describe how that hit me. It's like, that's such a, oh man, that's so real.
Yeah.
Like you never really know.
Yeah.
You think that your kids, like, you want to give your kids everything you think, but you need to give them space too. So I'm
telling you, you should watch the Black Widow movie to get a little bit more of their dynamic. They're not really father and daughter.
Oh, really?
When Natasha and Yelena were kidnapped.
Well, that makes the whole scene ruined now.
No. I was gonna say it hits harder. I don't want to say too. All I'll say is
just don't worry about it.
He's not their dad. I mean, it's not like a spoiler. That's what the whole movie is about.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy to see what they started as and what they became.
Yeah.
And I really think the Black Widow movie did a good job of painting that. That movie got a bad rap because they ruined Taskmaster in it, and then because she was already dead in universe when they put that movie out. So it was like, why are we putting this movie out? Other than to like forward the plots of other characters that we're just now meeting in this movie, aka Yelena, Red Guardian, and whatever.
They should have put Black Widow out before Endgame.
Yeah,
because then her death would have been so much harder.
And to be fair, this movie, I will give Marvel the credit of they wanted to put this movie out a long time ago, but it just never worked out.
Yeah,
they really tried to fit it in a few different earlier phases, never could make it work. So they had to shoehorn it in where they could. But Black Widow, the movie actually takes place like in universe right after Civil War, but they released it after Endgame. It's a Phase 4 movie, but it takes place in the timeline right after Civil War.
That doesn't make sense because Natasha was a grown woman in Avengers 1.
Yeah, she's a grown woman in the Black Widow movie.
I thought it was about how she got kidnapped as a kid.
They delve into it. They show you a lot of that.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, she's a grown woman in the movie. Like, in that movie, present day of that movie, she's like dealing with stuff. She's on the run from all the stuff in Sokovia, or the not Sokovia, the airport thing and whatever, letting Cap get away, whatever. She's on the run. Okay. And it's before she teams back up with him in Infinity War. Now they're like a team with Wanda and Vision.
Okay, gotcha.
But they released the movie after Endgame, so she's dead. All this has happened. Yeah,
okay.
But yeah, they show a lot of that in like flashback stuff, like a lot of it. I'd say about half the movie is you learning about her growing up, how she grew up, the Red Room stuff, yada yada.
Gotcha.
And Yelena and Red Guardian are great in that movie too. They really are scene stealers in both films I've seen them. Matter of fact, Yelena pops up in Hawkeye, in the Hawkeye show, and she's great in that. Watching her and Kate Bishop go back and forth is hilarious. Have you seen that one?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Is that the one where
You got so much to catch up on. You're talking about me and Karate Kid. You got
Okay, but I'm talking about 2 movies. You're talking about the MCU, which is like 30-something movies and a gajillion different episodes in the shows.
But still.
I mean, you're not wrong, but you're just not right.
So let's push. So, okay. We get out of the void. The day is saved. We're standing there on the street, and they're talking to Bob, and Bob has no idea what happened. What'd you think of that?
I loved that. That was more of like trying to that was more it was feeding more into like helping me get over my gripe about Sentry being so powerful.
Yeah,
because it's like he didn't even remember what was going on. So the whole time I was thinking, at least he's like that. You know, he's not totally aware. So
and then I kind of ruined it because he was like, "Does he still have powers?" And I was like, "Yeah." And you were like, "I hate that."
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming he does.
Yeah. So I thought when he came out of the void, he didn't have his powers that what's her face, Valentina gave him.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was dead with the kill switch. So.
And I mean, well, I guess we know it's not.
Yeah, we know it's not now. But the way they told us, I was like, okay, great. I love that. So you have this super awesomely powerful character, but there's a big caveat. It's like when he uses it,
he might turn on you and kill you.
Yeah. That's great. This goes. Have you ever read Brandon Sanderson's Laws of Magic?
Huh.
So he's a lot of writers. You know, he does a lot of stuff for writers, like lectures and stuff. One of his laws, and I actually really agree with this, is that limits are more interesting than powers.
That's true.
Yeah, and this is a really good example of that.
I mean, I think a good power is great, but
sure.
But yeah, if you
can limit,
if you can use it with no consequence, what's the point?
Right.
I mean, you just story over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And look, we've kind of that kind of ties into like we've had that discussion about Superman and stuff before, and I've told you like I think if you read the right Superman stories, you would see where like Superman, he's more nuanced than the thing that makes Superman so interesting is the fact that he doesn't really use his power the way he could. Like, I mean,
yeah, but every time he uses it, it's game over. Unless there's kryptonite. I mean, there's just no.
I mean, there are villains that have pushed him to his limit, or like have put him in situations where it's like almost like his power doesn't matter because it's not about how powerful he is. It's about something else. I mean,
everything I've ever seen him in, it's always the same story. It's like, better find some kryptonite. Like when Batman vs Superman came out, I was like, I wonder how Batman is going to figure out how to beat Superman. And I was like, oh, big shocker, the Green Rock.
But what makes that interesting is he really probably wouldn't have even needed it because Superman doesn't want to kill Batman. He doesn't want to fight him.
But Batman wanted to kill him. That was the whole point. And it's like, so I wonder what...
But that's wrong right there. That Batman wouldn't want to kill anybody.
Well, okay, sorry. He didn't want to kill him, but he wanted to attack him and stop him because he thought he was a threat to everyone. Same thing.
To be fair, no, you said it right the first time. Snyder wrote those characters terribly. He wanted to kill him, but that's stupid. Batman would never want to do that.
Yeah, that is fair. But even so, even if he didn't want to kill him, it's like, I already know what he's going to do to try and stop Superman. I mean, he's going to find kryptonite. It's the same story every time.
Yeah,
Superman can make an interesting story one time. You can't have a running superhero who has only one very stupid weakness. It's not even stupid if it's done one time. Because it makes sense. It's like the planet he came from, you know?
Yeah.
But
so what are your thoughts on The Flash?
I mean, I don't really have any... I don't know much about The Flash.
You should hate The Flash more than you hate Superman.
Why?
He's untouchable. I mean, literally, there's a thing in the comics where he outran his own death.
Okay, that's ridiculous.
I mean,
I think what it boils down to...
Superman has a weakness.
That's fair. I think what it boils down to is...
You haven't seen any good Superman stories.
No, I think what it boils down to is I just don't.
No.
I just don't really like DC.
DC's got its moments. It's not. I would say I like Marvel more.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
DC is good.
Sentry vs Superman is just the perfect example. When Marvel does it, they do it in a very interesting way that really makes the character unique. Like and don't get me wrong, there's a place for someone like Superman. When you're 12 years old, or when you're 6 years old, and you're watching a cartoon Superman, you don't care about all the nuances. You're like, yeah, Superman's good. He's gonna beat up the bad guy. And I remember seeing cartoons where Superman would always save the day, and they were fun when you're little. So I'm not saying there's no place for DC, but if you're talking about really interesting storytelling, like the getting into the nitty gritty,
we're not saying there's no place for it. We're just saying it's only for little tiny kiddies. It's not for big boys.
Well, to be fair, comic books when they came out, I mean, they were for maybe not little kids, but they were like kids were in comic
like
book
young,
stores.
Tweens to teens.
Yeah. So it's not like
you're not wrong, but I would.
And there were cartoon like the first time comic books were ever brought to a screen, it was usually Saturday morning cartoons for little children. So
I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I definitely think that all of that has matured, all of it.
Right, but DC hasn't. That's my point. Is like
I think they have overly. They tend to be a little darker.
Well, okay. If you're talking about the mood of the story, yeah, but they've made it darker without changing the stakes to match what they're trying to do. Like Marvel, Thunderbolts was pretty dark. It had a lot of dark moments, but they have a Superman-like character who has limits that make his power and his character way more interesting than Superman.
I mean,
and I haven't seen a DC movie do that with Superman. I'm not talking about comics.
Right. I mean, yeah, I know. That's fair.
If like in the new Superman movie that's going to come out, I'm thinking Lex Luthor's probably going to find some kryptonite at some point and be like, gotcha! It's like, whoa, didn't see that coming,
I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch that movie with you. Because if he pulls out kryptonite, I'm not going to be able to look at you. Because I know you're just going to be looking at me like...
Yeah, but I would be right.
No, I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying I wish I was more well versed in Superman stuff. I like Superman, but I'm not even like the most well versed in his stuff. But you can't tell me he's become one of the most iconic characters of all time, and there's no good stories about him.
No, that's not what I said. He's definitely an iconic
Well,
character.
you said you could do a Superman story once.
Yeah, you could make him a really, really interesting story one time. If you don't know about kryptonite, it's really hard to build the lore that the MCU has built for their characters with a character like Superman, because he only has one weakness, and the weakness is very obvious. Every new iteration, every time Superman encounters a problem, every time the villain encounters Superman, they're going to have to find kryptonite. It's just, there's no really interesting dynamic. I mean, you could try to do stuff like that, but...
Let me ask you this. Just playing a little devil's advocate here. What is Thor's weakness?
Well, he's not as powerful as a lot of the other villains that they face, like Thanos with the Infinity Stones, for instance.
I would disagree. I mean, Thor was one badly aimed throw away from just doming Thanos and ending him, and he had every gem in the gauntlet.
Yeah, that's fair, but for one, you could argue that he caught Thanos off guard because Thanos had just gotten him and he was looking at the gauntlet. So, but Thanos beat the living tar out of him on the ship because he didn't have his hammer. So that's one weakness that he has, is he has to have his hammer at least. But even so, his character dynamic is interesting because oh man, I just totally lost my train of thought. It just completely flew out of my brain when I was saying that.
You want me to just throw something else out while you think, or do you want to think for a second? I don't want to throw you off more.
Well, I guess. Oh, okay. I remember what I was going to say. He doesn't have one very obvious weakness that villains always use against him. That's probably what's most interesting about him, is his weakness is going to be different every time, depending on the villain, depending on the situation, on the circumstance.
You're kind of going exactly where I wanted you to go.
Okay, but Superman, his weakness is kryptonite. Like,
okay.
If you have kryptonite, why take any other angle?
Okay.
Kryptonite completely takes away his power.
Because here's the point I'm trying to make. You are exactly right. Thor does not...
Thank you. Moving on.
End of podcast. This is our last episode. You're exactly right. Thor and most characters don't have like one iconic weakness that is like tied to their character as being like exploitative to beat them. So their weakness becomes plot. How are we going to write them into a scenario where, even though logically there's no way they should either A, be in the scenario, or B, that they would realistically be trapped there because we've shown them in other cases being powerful enough to escape something like this, but we have to write it believable to where right now they're trapped in this scenario until we also then plot them a way out of it.
Yeah.
Superman is no different. It's just that he does have that one like iconic thing that for some reason, I will give you, the movies have like married him and his villains to the kryptonite thing. There are so many other things where kryptonite's never involved, and it's a great Superman story.
Okay, but that is, you said the only difference is that. That's a big difference, because if I have a Thor killing button, why would I do anything else except try to go find that button?
Because, again, it's not, put it like this. Thor's like super strong, all right? You show him like beat some insanely huge, Asgardian thing, like a monster. And then maybe in a week or two, the next issue comes out and he's trapped in a metal box. There's no reason on earth that a metal box should contain Thor. But this is like a special metal that these wizards have like put a thing on, and it's super strong metal. Or this metal has a spell in it that negates any of Thor's.
The problem though, you can do that with Thor because he's not limitless. He's never portrayed as limitless.
He's a god.
Yeah, but that doesn't
get more limitless.
No, yes, it totally does. Gods have limits. In the old Greek and Norse mythology, all gods have limits.
I don't know.
A ton of them have. They only have certain bounds within that. Like Thor is the god of thunder, so he's got this specific lane that he can stay in, and he can't kind of really veer off of that. Like they have gods with Superman can do whatever the heck he wants, and he's completely limitless. He can just keep getting more powerful.
I just don't think that's a fair statement to make.
Well, it's a true statement. I don't know.
I mean, it's not. No one would have ever read Superman comics for as long as they've been around if it were for the fact that he could just do whatever
that's
he
not
wants.
true
because no stakes.
That's not true because comics are a different ball game. People read comics for different reasons than they watch movies.
Right, but there are a lot of people. Majority of people read comics because the stories are good. I mean, they like the art, they like the characters, yes, but if the stories aren't good. Ask Spider-Man fans about how many Spider-Man lines completely flop because they ruined the character, they ruined the story.
Sure, yeah, but it's still you're gonna like the storytelling medium makes a big difference. Like you're expecting a different kind of story and a different way of being told a story when you're reading a comic book versus that. And I like this is also going off of someone who hasn't read the comics, which I've said a bunch of times.
And I can't get. I wish, like I said. To be fair, we're in a similar boat here because I'm not super well versed in Superman comics. I just haven't. I don't read a lot of DC in general. I do, like you, kind of prefer a lot of the Marvel stuff, but I think it's unfair. Superman's one of the oldest heroes. Like, I mean, he would not be at the level he's at if he had no good stories that didn't all involve one way to beat him.
I didn't say he has no good stories.
Right, but your implication is that they all have to end the same way. We got to get Kryptonite to beat.
Or if they don't, that's a huge plot problem because why don't you just get the killing switch?
Well, I told you, the one I remember, I told you about this forever ago on the Mega Media Nerd. We had a very similar conversation, and I told you there was one new thing they had written in, more modern, probably within the last handful of years or so, that he has this thing where he could like explode like a huge thing of energy out of him, like with the force of a sun exploding, but then he loses all his powers for like some amount of time. He becomes completely human, stuff like that. And I mean,
that's still just another version of Kryptonite.
How?
Because he just loses his powers. It's just like
So does Sentry.
Yeah, Sentry doesn't lose his powers except for maybe when the kill switch. Sentry can only use his powers if he makes himself vulnerable. That's a big, big difference.
But the implication to me was that, like in that end credit scene, like him just sitting there in that chair, like you could kill him. Like, I mean, he's not invincible. Yeah. He doesn't have any of that stuff.
Yeah, but that's not because he lost his powers. It's because he has to choose between being vulnerable in this state with powerless or using his powerful and in some ways being more vulnerable or being vulnerable in different ways. Superman doesn't have that problem. He can use his powers at any time he wants to unless someone takes them away. And there's not really that many consequences. I'm not saying Superman isn't a good character or an interesting character or like an iconic character. I love Superman. If I saw a good Superman movie from like one of the first movies that ever came out, like I'm sure I would love it because I think it's cool. Like the idea of Krypton and then finding out that the planet where he came from is the thing that will make him weaker is a good, storyline.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It's good writing. So like, but you can't go much deeper than that. Like you can't build out this lore because then it becomes every time Superman, like why wouldn't you just get the Superman killing rock? If you want to get rid of Superman.
First of all, I think you're over, like, I don't know the word I'm looking for. Like, I think you're giving a lot of credit to how much kryptonite is available on Earth.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because if you're the bad guy and you want to get Superman, it's going to be obvious what your goal is. Like,
but
even
that
if
doesn't mean it's achievable all the time.
No, it doesn't. But it's still, that's what they're going to try and do. Like, it's like, I wonder how he's going to defeat Superman.
I think
he's going to try to find some kryptonite.
This is going to be a note I make to myself that I'm going to, in my own time, I'm going to do some research. And I'm going to come up with, like, a top 10 list of, like, the best Superman stories. And I'm going to get, like, kind of the skeleton of them. And I'm going to come on the podcast one day, and the whole episode is going to be me pitching you 10 Superman stories and getting your reaction to them.
I love that idea. But I will say, we're coming up on time, and we still haven't talked about the big reveal in the end credits scene that we promised we would talk about.
All right, so...
But I like that idea.
Okay,
because Superman's a big point of contention for us.
I mean, not really. I mean, I'm really only arguing it so much because of the fact that, like, you are so on that side of the spectrum. I don't like adore Superman, but like I also don't think that what you're saying is 100% fair. So that's why I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll
next episode I'll prove you wrong.
Oh God, you'll come with the top 10 worst Superman. So okay, yes, get through the end of the movie. One of the big reveals being this is not the Thunderbolts. This is the new Avengers. We now have an Avengers team, despite the fact that, like Daniel brought up earlier, in Cap 4, Sam was tasked as the official new Captain America, was tasked with putting together a new Avengers team so that we would have that defense on Earth. Cut to end credits, and like we said, there's like a lot of contention going on between Bucky and Sam about which kind of the implication there being Sam has a team.
Yeah.
So I would like to know who that is.
I was just thinking that.
But there's apparently a lot of public discourse and internal discourse amongst like the hero community. Who is the real Avengers? So while they're having that conversation, the big reveal pops up that Red Guardian comes in and has a Z on his Avengers thing. And so that's how they get around it. And that's like the huge reveal at the end of the movie.
Okay. I didn't realize where you were going with that.
I mean, that really does happen.
I didn't realize you were saying that you were making the joke that is the big reveal. I thought you were just saying that I thought you were leading into the big one somehow with that. And I was like, huh? All right.
Well, before
that does happen, but that's not the big reveal.
I'm making a joke. Before we get to that, the real thing, because I want you to talk about it, but I want you to start with the movie ends, the credits are rolling. We haven't seen an end credit scene yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Not even the first one, which was awesome. And I'm asking you what you thought about the movie. Run me through what you were thinking at that time.
Thought it was great. My only gripes were the Sentry thing, and then the small gripe I had was they didn't tie it enough in with the rest of the MCU and the multiverse stuff. Because I'm really wanting. I know I keep bringing up Spider-Man, but it's like we got that Street Spider-Man at the end of No Way Home, and there's been nothing since. And I just want to see him pop up. I just want to know he's there. Other than the mention in the Daredevil Born Again. And so I was thinking maybe Sam Wilson recruited him, but
it's possible.
Probably not, because he's not. No one remembers Peter Parker. But
he's got to be on one of the Avengers teams. He's absolutely got to be.
We'll see. So anyway, I was just thinking, okay, they didn't tie it in enough, and I even if they didn't do Spider-Man, it's like I at least want a hint towards what's coming in Doomsday, because that's what MCU does, And I even said to you, I was like, if the end credit scene solved that problem, then they also solved the Sentry problem for me too, which I wasn't even expecting. But so then it was good, and I absolutely loved how, because Bob doesn't remember anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then she introduces the new Avengers, and Bob is clapping for them as if he's not one of them.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
That was great.
Oh, man. That was awesome. So then, I guess that's it before I was going to start talking about the end credit scene, but that's where I am.
Go ahead.
Okay. So then they get to the end credit scene. They discuss the Sentry thing. They also, because that was another question. I was like, wait, Sam Wilson is supposed to be building one. They talk about that in the end credit scene because they're like, there's this tension. And then they say they get an alert that something is coming in from space, and it's multi-dimensional. And I was like, extra dimensional, that's what it is. And I was like, there it is, folks, the multiverse. Like, we're finally getting a hint towards. I was like, thank you. Like, I feel like I have been waiting for this for a long time.
Yeah.
Because you did the multiverse thing in No Way Home, and then all this stuff has come out. There's been no tie-in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, I immediately knew what it was. I was like, it's the Fantastic Four. And I kept saying to you, I don't know if you heard me.
Oh, I heard you.
Yeah. And I was saying to Claire, I was like, it's the Fantastic Four. And then the ship flies in. You can see it's like 60s style. Yep. And then it turns and you see the four. And I'm like, Fantastic Four. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember in the credits too. You pointed out, you're like,
I was like,
why is the Fantastic Four soundtrack on the credits? It wasn't in this movie.
They had it, when it's scrolling through, if you look where all the songs are listed from the score, one of them is Fantastic Four main theme. And I was like, where the heck did they play that? And I said, unless We're about to hear it, and sure enough.
You know how you said you think that end credit scene is straight out of Doomsday?
Yes.
I wonder if it's straight out of Fantastic Four. I wonder if what's going to happen is at the end of Fantastic Four, because you remember in the trailers they're suiting up to space, and they ask him, "Are we safe?" And he goes, "I don't know." Maybe they figure out they have to go to a different universe to recruit help from the Avengers, and that's what they're doing.
Well,
how dare you cough?
I know. The rumor is that universe is going to get destroyed.
The Fantastic Four universe?
And if you paid attention in the trailer that we saw before this movie, the Fantastic Four trailer that played, the last clip, like the stinger clip that happens after the title pops up, is Galactus walking through the streets, and it's like a ghost town.
Yeah.
No one is there. So the rumor is that world and universe, he's gonna get it.
Galactus or Doom? Dr. Doom?
Galactus. And to get away from it, they escape and come somehow to our universe. And they're probably going to be warning about Galactus and Doom. Kind of like how Hulk warned everyone in Infinity War.
Yeah.
When he got shot down to Earth about Thanos coming.
Yeah.
And Gamora was warning people. It'll probably be very similar. They're going to be the ones being like, hey, we got a couple big threats coming. You're probably going to need more than one Avengers team anyway.
That's fair.
By the way, we're getting 3.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Because the Young Avengers.
Yeah.
I can't wait. And they're still talking about doing the, oh my God, what are they called? My boys, the Sons of Darkness, something like that. Gosh, I hate that I'm forgetting it, but the team up with like Blade and Ghost Rider and Moon Knight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're supposed to be getting that team up too.
Plus, I know Daredevil and Spider-Man are going to team up at some point. I think Daredevil's on Sam Wilson's team.
Oh, my God. Ugh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think Daredevil and maybe I think what's going to happen in season 2 of Daredevil is him and Spider-Man are going to team up at some point and help to try and take down Fisk. And then Sam Wilson is either going to come in that show or they're going to meet Sam Wilson in a different movie or something, and he's going to recruit them to the Avengers. And yeah, so
it's exciting and sad that Fantastic Four is like it for this year. Like, I'm excited because, like, first of all, I know this movie is going to be huge. It's going to have huge implications. And then it's probably also going to have 2 end credit scenes that are probably also both going to be huge.
Yeah.
But on top of that, then, like, I think that's it. I mean, I know we're getting the Ironheart Disney Plus series, but I don't know how much. I mean, if that's going to tie into anything, I would think it would have to be Young Avengers.
Yeah.
I'm just, that bums me out.
I know. A lot of good stuff coming up next year, though. I mean, it's.
Oh my gosh.
It'll be good. It'll be good. Yeah, so you actually asked me this question before we were doing the podcast. You said, because I know I've been like kind of whatever on the MCU. It's like I'm not super excited, but it's like, they're fun movies. And you were asking me after Thunderbolts, how do I feel? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm all on board. Let's do MCU, baby. I mean, we didn't talk about anything else in this podcast because that movie was so good that like it's just. We can just talk about it forever. Like, I'm so excited for the next phase of the MCU now.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And as someone who is against, traditionally against, like, reboots and remakes, I hope they never stop making these movies now because they're doing it in such a good way. They're doing it in a very well thought out, in-depth way. It's planned. It's not, like, for instance, Taken 2 and 3. Those were just sequels because Taken 1 did really good, and we're like, we'll get some money and make Taken.
Yeah.
This is, you can tell the people behind the MCU, they love this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And they're into it. And
this whole thing is a massive passion project for Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
And I commend him. There's going to be such a cool, sometime in our future, probably when our kids are somewhat grown, there's going to be such a cool documentary that'll come out about him and like the building of the ground up of this. Because do you know he's been involved in these Marvel movies since the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy? Like he's been on production teams for the OG X-Men movies.
Wow, I didn't know that.
From like 99 and 2000. Like there are pictures of him behind the scenes, like on set. He helped not necessarily write them, but like I guess with like a very small like co-producer kind of thing. Like he's been helping with this stuff since he was very young. Very young. And since comic book movies weren't even like looked at seriously. Because really the OG X-Men trilogy and the OG Spider-Man trilogy is kind of really what brought these kinds of movies to the level they're at.
Yeah.
Yes, you had your 1980 whatever, the Batman, which was huge with Keaton, and then the Christopher Reeves Superman, the first the one from the 80s, like the first Superman movie.
I don't remember the name, but yeah.
I mean, you had those, and they're iconic, but man,
yeah,
it's crazy where we're heading.
I think this is a good place to end it.
Yeah, I don't really know what else to say from there.
I said this at the beginning of our last episode, but please let us know in the comments or email or whatever what you like about what we're talking about.
And again, the email right now is still storytimewithchrisandDaniel@gmail.com. We'll work on that,
but comment on YouTube, comment on Spotify, however you want to let us know. And this was
Text
very.
us. My number is 8. I'm just kidding.
I was like, all right, you want to do that, man. But this was very MCU heavy, partly just because the Thunderbolts came out and that's what we talked about. But we want to be able to talk about stuff that you guys are into as well. So let us know if you like the MCU discussions. If you like it when we talk about other films, we're gonna have to talk about less MCU related stuff in future episodes because, like you said, Fantastic Four is it.
We're running out, but we got some other things lined up. I mean,
Karate Kid Legends.
I was gonna say, not only do we got some other movies coming out like Superman, Karate Kid. I'm semi interested in the new Jurassic World movie. I know you're probably not like thrilled about it.
Not at all.
Like, kind of interested, but we got other movies, but then also like older ones that like I still want to show you Law Abiding Citizen.
Oh yeah.
Nobody. You still want to show me Hottie Boombalati and a couple other comedy movies and things. I mean, not only do we have new movies coming out, old movies to watch, but then there's other topic things like we brought up 2 in this episode, like me bringing you the top 10 Superman lists, and then also both of us ranking all the MCU films and talking about it. So I mean, there will be other things we can talk about too. So I mean, if you guys ever have any just creative ideas that are outside of the realm of, hey, watch this movie and review it, we're open to that too. Like he said, we want to cater this to whoever's going to continue and come and support and listen, so we can hopefully continue to grow the channel and the show.
That's right. Well, is that it for you?
I think that's it.
All right.
I will say
that's it, guys. Thank you so
as of right now, I think I'm still sitting at a 4.5 out of 5
for Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think anything that we talked about was enough to make me bump it up to like a 5-star movie. But I'm gonna sit with that a little bit. I might change it later, but right now I think 4.5 that's a really good. That's almost perfect.
I'm gonna say 4.8.
Oh, we're doing like that?
Yeah.
Okay, 4.99. I'm gonna stay 4.5. But okay. All right. Yeah, but yeah, I'm good. I'm good to leave it there.
Sounds good.
Oh,
thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.